yeah? That's Sammy there. That is Saga. And Jesus is up here somewhere floating in the sky. We never get to Jesus. So perfect, your name was Jesus, right? Couldn't want it for more. So the reality is I just want the meat of the move. Write this down. I want to be first person in. I want to be first person out. The question becomes, how do I know? It's all well and good seeing this in advance, but how do I know that when we get to here, well, let's say I'm going to buy here, how do we know this isn't going to happen? How do we know that? How do we know we're not going to get to Sammy and then just suddenly drop to $1? How do we know we've gone round the roundabout? We do. Oh yeah, no, that's the whole point. There is something that can really show us. There's no guarantee, but there's something that's going to give us a really big clue. Are you guys up for a really big clue? Right, here we go. So here comes a very quick instructional in reading price. So think of a candlestick that's red. If it's painted red, it's got 4 elements. That's the high, that's the low, that's where it opened, and that's where it closed. And the distance between where it opened and where it closed, if the distance there is pretty big, it means there's a lot of confidence. So the distance between the open and the close, let's say that bar represents an hour of time, or even a day of time, it doesn't matter. But if it represents an hour of time, and it opened here and it closed down there, there's clearly more sellers in that period of time than there are buyers. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Yeah. The greater the distance, please write this down, the greater the distance between the open and the close, the greater the confidence. The greater the distance between the open and close, the greater the confidence. So conversely, if you saw an up bar or a buyer bar like this, what's the high, it would have opened here, it would have closed here, that would have been the low. Which means big bars like this equal confidence in that direction. Confidence in that direction, okay? Now, are these the bars that we want to be seeing when we buy in at Sammy? No. Because if it's falling like it was, hold on. If it's falling, and these big red bars are still big, it's going to keep falling, isn't it? That would not be the time to buy. That's where you buy at $2 and suddenly it's at $1. We don't want that. So there's something else we need to see to know that the little bus has gone round the roundabout and is now moving in the other direction. Let me show you what that looks like. It's called a low, write this down, it's called a low test. Now it can either be red or green, it doesn't matter, but if that's the high and that's the low and that's the open and that's the close and that's the high and that's the low and that's the open and that's the close, notice what it looks like. There is, please write this down, there is a tail in the tail. There's a tail in the tail. What it means is that it opened up, the price fell all the way down here, but at some point it had to come all the way back. It means that it tried to sell off. But in that bar, all the buyers came back. And that is your signal that it's showing that that bus has gone round the roundabout. In other words, all the sellers have been shaken out, but then suddenly they've come back in. And that gives you a nice tail, which shows there's a tail in the tail, and that's a low test. And that's the signal that we want to see, not just anywhere, but right at the end of phase 2, putting you into phase 1. So let me show you what that looks like. So we know we should be buying at a place like that. We know we don't. We know people can buy up here, and then we know people sell down here. We need a recipe. So I'm going to go through the recipe. So a trading strategy is a recipe. It's what to do, when to do it, how to do it, what to look for, how to monetize it, how to keep the risk low, and how to produce profit. So let's have a look. We use, this is called the trend wave strategy. So you want to grab, if you've got a phone, you might take a picture of this. This is going to be quite helpful. So the trend wave strategy works like this. We use 2 moving averages. So the yellow moving average is that yellow line and it was representative of 7 days. Please write that down. And then the blue line is representative of about 3 weeks. So one is 7 days, and one is 3 weeks. Now, a moving average is just the average of the price over time, so it creates a smooth line. Does that make sense to everybody, yes or no? Yeah, just that one lady, everyone else like, take a picture. Yeah, so the moving average is just a smooth line of what the price is doing. So if the yellow line is a week of data price, the last week, and the blue line is the last 3 weeks, if the yellow line is above the blue line, what does that tell you? Does that tell you things are going up, yes or no? Recently, does it say recently things are going up? So that is the first step that we know we're in the right trend, that it's in an uptrend if we're buying. That's important. So that tells us we're in an uptrend. So the yellow line needs to be above the blue line. Then we're looking for this, aren't we? And that's your phase 1, and then your phase 2. But the question then becomes, what is at the bottom there, which tells us it's about to go back to phase 1 again? So it would be the time to buy, if that makes sense. What is it? And it's exactly what I've drawn on that pad. What we're looking for here is, and the rules of the game are, please write these down, we never risk more than 2% on a trade. The goals of trading are capital preservation first and foremost, always, then profit second. And then some of the other rules of the game are, let's not get fooled into thinking one trade looks better than another. Don't have favourites or hunches. And we treat it like a profession, we treat it like a job. So it's not there just for fun, it's there to be taken with a certain level of discipline and risk management. So we're looking for a bar which looks like this. And I've painted this in blue because I don't want you to care whether it's green or red, it really doesn't matter. All that matters is it has a long tail on it, because the tail says that market got rejected from further sell-offs because there were too many buyers coming back. And if there are too many buyers coming back onto an asset which has recently sold off, that's the thing you want to be buying right now. Make sense, everybody? Yeah, so yes, if there's a tail like that, like you're seeing, then what it basically indicates to you is that if that's following a series of red bars that have just sold off, and then the last one looks like that, then that suggests that the sellers have been shaken out and the buyers are coming back in. And the reason for that is because the sell-off has been rejected. There's too many buyers coming back. It's pulled itself all the way back. That closing price has pulled itself all the way back, which suggests there are many more buyers than there were sellers now in the market. So it looks like that. For example, this would be phase number, all together now, phase number? 1. That's right, phase 1. This would be phase
2.
What happens at the end of phase 2? We're looking for this little character. If we see it, I want you to imagine that we draw a dotted line at the top. Does that make sense? Just imagine there's a dotted line here. If the next bar was to break through the dotted line, that's your entry, isn't it? That's where you're getting in, right at the end of phase 2, at the beginning of phase 1. Now, just like if you remember the example we did here, we got in at Sammy, didn't we, folks? Yes or no? Did we get to Jesus? No. We never got to Jesus. I mean, that's right at the end when we get to Jesus, hopefully, and not Lucifer. So we wanted to sell at the $5 mark. We wanted the rejection of the seller, get in with the buyers, come back in, ride the momentum, and then cut the trade off. Does that make sense? That's what we're looking to do. So here's the strategy. We want the yellow line above the blue line. We want the price to pull back to at least the yellow line. So we know that phase 2's happened. That means all the sellers have been shaken out. Then the low test, which says selling's over, buying's about to start. And then we're just placing an order, right? So we're placing an order using simple automated software, so you won't have to manage this whatsoever. The software I'm going to show you will find these trades for you and manage them for you to completion. So you aren't sitting there looking for trades, it will find them for you, scan, and then your job is to pick which one you want to place based on a probability criteria. Okay? So let's have a look at some examples of some that some of our little grads have done. So here we have, so the screen you're looking at right now is Smart Charts. So this is Smart Charts 1, which I developed about 6 years ago. And so if you look at this screen, what it's doing is it's finding these trade setups for you. So if you look at how the screen's laid out, on the left-hand side it says Trend Wave. That's the strategy that we're learning. And so the idea is you learn the strategy first like this, and then you use the software to find it. You don't use the software first without learning the strategy, because you've got to understand what it's looking for and why it's looking for it. So the Trend Wave is the strategy. You can see the currency pair is Aussie dollars against Kiwi dollars, Aussie against New Zealand dollar. You'll see there's a blue arrow on the screen, and right near that big blue arrow is a very small blue arrow. And the reason there's a small blue arrow, let me just show you. If you can see, and you should start to notice this if you look closely, and I know this is difficult to see on these screens with a black background, but do you see do you see the low tests here, folks? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And do you see what happens after the low tests? In this circumstance where the yellow line is above the blue line, check. The market has pulled, so this is your last phase 2 going into phase 1. Do you see this here at the bottom? Mm-hmm. And then you can see what happened. You can see this is phase 1, phase 2, phase 1, phase 2. Are you getting the idea, folks? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And then at the bottom here, you'll see this low test. So this is where the signal's called. It enters as it breaks through the high. So on this example, this is 45 pips. At £10 a pip, this is £450 profit in 2 hours. Good trade?
Yep.
Let's look at some more. So you can see the same thing here. Phase 1, short phase 2. Phase 1, phase 2. Here's where the system draws the blue arrow on the chart, showing you where the low test is, where you enter is on that crosshair. This is 98 pips at £10 pips, so that's £980 profit in 5 hours. So you can see that every bar on the chart here is an hour in time. Now check this one out. So this is where the market's trending down. There will be no signals when that's happening, because this particular strategy I'm looking for is to buy. So until the yellow line breaks up through the blue line, you won't have any signals being generated. Here's the signal, here's the low test, here's where we enter, and here is 46 pips at £10 a pip, so that's £460 profit in 6. So see 6, yeah, it does, but my eyesight's getting bad. 44. Do you know, it's the worst thing in the world. You have this amazing eye, but it's kind of God's way of giving you a slight break. Because every morning now, when I go to my bathroom, when I start walking, this is like old man walking towards me. Fortunately, my eyesight's suffering at the moment, so that means I don't have to look too closely. But then if you walk in the bathroom in the morning with your glasses on, you really don't want to see what's looking back at you. So that's 46 pips at £10 pips. That's £460 profit in 6 hours. Please write this down. So I'm going to take a group of you from this room today. How many people would like to sit on my trading floor and do this for an hour in the morning? Okay, good. So kind of doing something different for today's event. So I'm going to take a small group, and we're going to really focus on 2 trading strategies. Please write these down. Trend Wave and 180 Phase Changer. That's going to be the real focus. Yeah, so we're going to focus on the Trend Wave, and we're going to focus on the 180 Phase Changer. We're going to teach you all 5 strategies, but I'm going to do a real focus on these 2. My outcome is to get you consistently hitting this 3 or 4 mornings a week, and then after you've got that, then you can move on to other strategies. But the real key is to get you started on Trend Wave 180 Phase Changer. So what I want you to, now write this down. Ultimately, we want you conversing on 5 currencies. So 5 currencies, 3 strategies. Even though there's 5, you'll be conversing in 3. There'll be 3 that you'll gravitate to. So it's 5, 3, 1. So 5 currencies, because all currencies have certain different characteristics. So 5 currencies, 3 strategies, same time of day. Same time of day. And why do you think we trade at the same time of day? Because you've got the same participants in the market at that time. So I'm looking for a group that would be prepared to let me record their trading performance and do a testimonial video when they get to their first $10,000. Who's up for that? Good. So I asked another little group if they would do that. I'm going to play their video and have a quick break. This is the kind of video I want. after you've hit your numbers, and then I'm going to show you.
I've really just had positive months every month, and I'm doing really, really well. I've made a lot of profit.
I've managed to grow my account significantly.
We've got one strategy which it usually makes about 2% a week.
I would say on average I'm doing about 5% a month, 25% return.
My best month has been 15%.
Probably just under 10%, but I know that's just a starting point and I can achieve much higher than that.
90 pips out of one currency.
It was about a 100 pip move, and that's probably what I earned in like a week of working.
My best trading month so far is 12%.
It's made me about 15%.
8%, 6% a day, which is a lot. I'm quite happy to do 6% a month.
I earned $700 in one day.
It's making steady profits, so it's going well.
It gave me a nice 60 pip profit.
You're just growing capital all the time because you know how to do it.
I made almost £800, so I did another trade in Spain and stocks 50.
Yes.
So altogether I made 4,500.
And you watch the money coming in as a result of what you're doing, so it's hugely rewarding.
My best month has been 14%, which has just been outstanding.
3.5% was my best trading week.
And I've done the 10% in probably not even 24 hours, so it was pretty good.
The rewards are frightening, and I'm hitting 4%, which is quite good.
I walked out with about 1,100 quid.
And it's just gone up and up and up.
As to who can do it, well, I'm looking forward to my 16-year-old son learning to trade.
My father recommended this course to me. He said it was amazing, and I would recommend it to my friends and family as well.
I highly recommend this program to my friends and family. In fact, I've got 2 friends who are currently engaged in this program and making money also.
I've recommended this course to 3 of my friends, and they're making some big returns as well.
I would absolutely recommend this to everyone I know.
I would definitely recommend it to my family.
Definitely recommend this course to people.
I would highly recommend this course. I highly recommend this program.
How many times is your salary multiplied by becoming an FX trader from where you were as a recruiter?
Well, it's multiplied by 5.
So you're making 5 times more money than you were making in regular employment?
And I was a millionaire by I was 40, and that was in the recruitment industry. So do the math.
You came on the program in May last year, right?
Yeah.
First time as a currency trader.
Yeah.
You were now managing a fund of how much?
30 million.
How old are you?
27.
And how much did you get last month of trading that?
$438,000.
Yeah. So, life stinks, right?
Yeah, it's hard work.
The last guy on there, by the way, I'll just say this is not. It's not common that somebody gets to a $30 million trading account. You could tell by his accent he's Australian. And he's a big chunky lad now. But he never was a big chunky. He actually broke his back. He was Australia's #1 BMX champion. He was that guy's called Derek Mellish. And he broke his back in some riding competition. Came on a program about 3 or 4 years ago, probably 4 years ago now. And all his mates who were sports stars were earning loads of money. So he just basically hit all his mates up for their money. So he's also giving 200 grand each. And he built a really big portfolio. He actually now runs a fund in Australia, so he's a really an amazing guy. But I'll just preface you there: it's not common to do that well that quickly. But I guess it goes to show you what can be done. So let me show you. Would you like to see smart charts? Would you like to see what I built? Yes or no?
Yes.
Let me show you how this works. So, okay, great. So here's how I built it. So I'm a bit of a geek for trading applications, right? So I believe, and I'm testament to this, I've been doing this for 23 years, I've probably trained, I remember walking on stage 10 years ago having trained 200,000 people, so I don't even know how many years now. I can tell you now, I've got trading floors all over the world, I employ lots of traders. If you slip my veins, you will see currency pour out. I mean, I've literally been doing this for probably too long. Even my kids trade, they pseudo-trade. They think they know what they're doing, they kind of don't. But they're very young, they're 10, 7 and 6, so they're a little bit young to get started. I built this so my mum could understand it. But let me also just say, my mum has never placed a trade in her life, and she has no inclination to do that. My mum's interested in one thing only, riding horses. Sorry, Dad, but there we are. My dad's a currency trader now, but never was. But I wanted to design this so my mum could understand it, because I thought if I could get my mum to get it, it should be as easy as possible. And so when people start trading and they're looking at charts, in my opinion, that's the biggest mistake you can make, because when you start staring at charts, you're trying to find an opportunity. And when one doesn't present itself, you'll conjure it up in your head that there is a good opportunity there, and you'll get yourself convinced, and then you'll see what you want to see. I don't think that's the right way of doing it. In fact, I know it isn't. The right way to do it is to use technology to find the very trading strategies you're looking to place. It's Saturday today, so obviously the one thing we do know is the markets are closed. So the currency markets are open all day long, 24 hours a day, 5.5 days a week. The only time the currency market's closed is now. So I can't show you a live trade, but I can get quite live. So what you're looking at is what smart charts looked like last night before the markets closed. And the way we run this, or the way that the platform is built, is such that each strategy, so there's trend wave, which you've just been looking at, there's the 180 phase change, volume reversal, trend tracker, and pip runner. All of those strategies are running, and they're looking for trades which match that criteria. And so if you look at the bottom of the list where the currencies are in red, it just means there's nothing to look at here. If you look at them where they're orange or yellow, they're getting set up. Green means it's nearly there, and green and flashing means that all the criteria are enabled. It's perfect trade setup, but you need to now figure out if it really is a perfect trade setup based on what's happening in the market, based on what you've learned on the training before you place the trade. So what it does is it uses technology to unemotionally put the best trade opportunity at the top of the list, and so that's where you start from. So for example, if I looked at, say, 180 phase change and I click on the top at the list, you can see it says, well, it's a buy trade. So it's very similar to the trend wave. Notice the low test here. So this was what was called from this low test. The yellow line is above the blue, and it's a buy setup. Now, whenever we place a trade, we need to know 3 things. Please write these down. We need to know the entry price, that's where we're getting in. We need to know where to place our protective stop loss. And the third thing is we need to know where to place our profit target. Those are 3 orders that we need to place on every trade that we place. We have to know exactly what those 3 numbers are before we do any trade. And this platform knows exactly what those numbers are based on how it's been built. And it also knows whether you should be buying or selling. So I told you this is a buying strategy. So you'll notice when you trade, you can either buy or sell. True or false?
Yes.
You can't here. So if you look at the screen, there is physically no sell button on that screen. And that is purposeful because having trained thousands of people over the last 23 years, I can certainly tell you can teach some people, and other people, they'll do the training, then right at the last minute they'll press the wrong button. And so I said to my development team, why don't we just remove the button they're not supposed to press? Because if the button's not there, they can't press it. And so you won't see a sell button. The sell button has literally been lifted, so the only button you can press is buy. And when you do that, you'll get a little screen like this which will say, okay, Greg, you want to buy stock, you're buying euros, selling sterling, volume's over 1,000, and then the entry price, stop loss, and take profit is already calculated, and it will basically put the entry price, the stop loss, and the take profit onto the chart, and you're done. You don't have to do anything else, you don't need to manage the trade, it will run the trade to completion. Of course, you can manage the trade if markets change and things happen, but from there on in, you are relatively redundant. So it is running the position for you. If the position hits its stop, it will take the trade off the table. If the position hits its profit target, it will take the trade off the table, bang the profit, and it will run it all for you. So that's how that works. So in this example, if I had placed this last night, my take profit would be 24,100. I would hit OK, and now say the market is closed. I'm quite well aware of that. Would you like to see how well it does? That's the performance. Yeah, so we have a connect area here. So these are the closed orders. Over time, you can see there's lots of winning trades here. There's a load of losing trades at the bottom, but the probability, the percentage of trades, or the number of trades I place compared to your average trader is a lot less. So before I place any trade, it's heavily filtered. We want to filter that before we place our trades. So we don't want to be placing 10 trades a day. Please write this down. We're looking for about 3 to 5 positions. We also then look at the analysis. We want to really see where our sweet spot is. So for me, wherever there's a green box, I know this is where I'm strongest, on which currencies and on which trading strategies. And so therefore, knowing where my sweet spot is where I'm going to play most, which is where I'm making most of my profit, and therefore most of my trades are going to be placed in that area. Make sense, everybody?
Yep.
How many people think they could use a platform like this? Let's see, show of hands. So literally, I've just redeveloped this and launched Smart Charts 2, which I haven't told anybody about, but it is in production right now, and we are launching it. So for those of you that will be using this, I will give you the upgrade to Smart Charts 2, which means you can use it on an iPad all the way down to an iPhone 5, on a tablet. It's completely platform independent. Okay, everybody stand up.